This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Oh goodness, I do believe he's lost his way. Now between you and me, I don't think he stood a chance in the first place. But he's having such a grand time here in these hallways, why should we bother him? Yes, it's all very amusing. And we laugh and we call our friends over and they laugh too, and soon the whole world laughs and laughs and laughs at the man who failed. But of course, that isn't for you. You, sitting there. What have you gained? Do you know this man? Do you know anything about him? Oh, of course not. Now, if I could truly put you in his shoes to show you the paths he walked and the choices he made, but we both know that isn't possible. Not yet. Soon, you will be the one to walk. The controls will be in your hands. Soon, we will find out if your friends turn and laugh at you, just as they did with him. Oh, I think I'm going to enjoy this. When you find out how alone you truly are, I will be laughing more than anyone. Very soon now. But there's a twist. Are you ready for it? Watch him closely, because in and amongst his aimless meandering, I think he's actually beginning to discover something. He's getting closer to an answer, an explanation, an exit. He is beginning to earn his freedom. The end is nearly here. Let's play, everyone. Let's all play. I'll find out when it's time to play the game. Which for members of the internet. Those not from the internet are advised to disregard this message, and more importantly, go down to your local electronics retail outlet and get with the times already. To those whom this message concerns, good to see you. I've been off the radar a bit long, haven't I? And I know how hard this lonely period has been on you. But I'm so terribly busy working on a story that I think you'll just die for. You see, I was upset to learn that many players found the original Stanley Parable to be confusing and contradictory. A far cry from the simple story of hope and redemption I had intended it to be. So to rectify this mistake, I'm taking steps to ensure that this updated version will be streamlined to remove any incoherent plot lines. Expect every new piece of content to seamlessly answer all the questions you may have been left with after playing the first game. It's my hope that this installment will fix the somewhat embarrassing mistakes of the original while proving definitively to the world that a video game can make you cry. And I know our mutual friend Stanley would be devastated if he were left out, which is why he's graciously volunteered to star in it once again. Or I'm sure he will anyway. But until we ask him to make that choice, I offer you this and future updates, and I remind you that one's time is better spent living than waiting. After all, with so many doors to prepare, it could be quite some time before this story is fully cooked. So, go out and be productive. Make some choices. Enjoy the hours you have left. Perhaps you could even spare a thought for Stanley, sitting there with nothing but himself and his buttons, day after day. He's been getting rather comfortable, I think, as humans tend to do when the scenery stops changing. And for the moment, we'll let him stay that way. After all, you and I both know things are about to change rather drastically. I wouldn't want to ruin the surprise for either of you. But you'll find out. You'll find out when it's time to play the game again. I recently received an email from a man named Raphael, who writes, "I just played your game, and I'd like to say it was the most annoying thing I ever played. It had its cool moments, but overall the experience was only of annoyance. The problem is that it does not touch the heart of people. It's a very emotionless game. Did you ask any girls to try out your game? I ask because they are blissfully less logical than us guys. I am very logical myself, but also very emotional. So it was easy for me to find the game annoying. What happened is that your game frustrated me. I felt like I was being taken into someone else's hallways, doors and plans to deliver me an experience that didn't touch me. And worst of all, I had absolutely no free will in the game. No way to change anything, no impact, no power. I accomplished nothing. People play games because of what they can do inside them, and your game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything.
Other things I didn't like were the amount of narrated dialogue too much, and that Stanley is repeated all the time by the narrator. Overall, your game is on a good path, I think. Good luck with it, and best regards, Raphael.
You know, Raphael, at first your negative response to the game devastated me. After all, I managed to squeeze so many emotions into the first game. How could a logical yet emotional person like yourself have been disappointed? But then I realized that much to the contrary, your emotional standard is simply much higher than a normal human being's. So I've come to think of you as a mentor, an emotional beacon toward which I might sail my wayward narrative ship. That's why I've discarded the Stanley Parable as it previously existed and rebuilt it from the ground up to capture not just many emotions, but all emotions. And I think few would disagree that it's a significant step up. Why don't I take you on a little demo walkthrough?
Welcome to the Stanley Parable demonstration. Your number is 28. When your number is displayed, please enter the demonstration room. Thank you, and have a pleasant demonstration.
Oh, hello. Welcome to the Stanley Parable live demonstration. It will be my pleasure to guide you through this sneak peek at what to expect in the Stanley Parable. A tease, just enough to leave you hungry for more. How exciting. Can't you just feel that nervous tension? The looming uncertainty? Why don't we drink in the anticipation for a moment, just for 20 minutes or so? Please, for just 20 minutes, don't move or act in any way. Simply remain motionless and let the thrill of demoing the Stanley Parable wash over you. Oh, I get it. You're too anxious. You can barely hold still. Well, tell you what. I think we should walk off that nervous energy before getting the demo underway. Here, why don't I take you on a little tour of the facility and show you how we make a demonstration for a game like the Stanley Parable. This is where I and the other proctors have been working meticulously to construct a demo that explains clearly and concisely exactly what the Stanley Parable is. Video game demonstrations are tricky, and without the proper technology, you run the risk of the player having no idea what to expect in the full version. Here is one such technology. These buttons are meant to convey the meaning of choice and the impact of the decisions you make. After all, choices carry tremendous meaning and consequence. Didn't you know that? Go ahead. Why don't you try picking one of these buttons to press, and we'll see what your choice says about you. How fascinating. Did you know that 94% of all people who select that particular button are sexual predators? You see, our choices really do illuminate the very intangible nature of our minds and souls. Pervert. Okay, what else can I show you then? This place is the buffalo of game design. Nothing is wasted. These are boxes. Boxes are like spheres that don't fall over. Now here's what we use to convey story. These booths convert text from a story into raw emotion. Go ahead, step into one of them and feel the sheer power of narrative exposition.
Where did these cliffs go? These crags that we stood upon, they shielded us from our own ignorance, spoke coddling words and wrapped our vulnerabilities in a woolen cloth that so many times I tried to set aflame. If I knew these comforts now, would their fibers be any more sensitive to the heat of my touch? Perhaps it was the cold I desired most of all, that empress to whom it was though, and within the shame he carried that ocean breeze did drift, the fierceness of the tides, the inevitable collapse of their king.
Oh, you went in both booths? Oh, how vulnerable of you. If at any point during the demo you need to cry, just let me know and we can take a minute. Here is where there is nothing. In the main game, however, there are many more places where there is nothing. If you've enjoyed this experience of a finite amount of content, then the Stanley Parable may be just the game for you. One of the most important parts of administering any demonstration is pumping up your ego and appealing to insecurities about your sense of self-worth. That's why we use this room to develop cheap compliments to shower on the player during the demo. Go ahead and press that button to see some of the superficial
My
flattery
heavens,
I've never met someone who can consume as much uranium in a single sitting as you can. Just look at you go. Of all the people I know who are playing this exact demo at this exact moment and standing in this exact room, your performance is easily in the top 5,000. Top 4,700 even. I won't go as far as 4,600. Let's see. Oh, this is embarrassing. I really can't think of anything else to say. No, you've really exhausted my list of compliments. Goodness, that was fast.
Give me compliments. I said, give me compliments. Give me compliments. I said, give me compliments. No freaking compliments. Give me compliments. I said, give me compliments.
Either you or this department has a lot of room for improvement. Okay then, what's next?
Jawohl, typical.
This device tells you whether or not you're inside a video game demonstration. Somewhere around here there's also a device that tells you whether or not you're inside a device that tells you whether or not you're inside a video game demonstration. Now this room is perhaps the most important you'll encounter in the demo. This is where we determine whether or not the demo has been effective, whether it's conveyed the wit and soul of the No! What are you doing? You can't make that decision yet. You haven't played the demo. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about how video game demos are made. This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, of every month, of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise. Here's the door. Just go. Yeah. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
Who the hell are you?
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word Escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did.
Thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. We are Ugly Sofa Gaming and we upload new videos every day from Dreams. If you like our content, please hit the subscribe button, like the video or leave a comment. Share the video in your favourite corner of the internet. Any one of those things really helps us out. Thank you very much.